Hello, my name is Sean Ulmer, Executive Director here at the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art. And even though the museum is closed to help contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus, we wanted to share with you a few works from our current exhibition, Across the Atlantic, American Impressionism Through the French Lens. This is an exhibition that was organized by the Reading Public Museum in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we chose it to help kick off our 125th anniversary year. And even though it is closed to the public at the current moment, we thought we might be able to share some of the gems of this exhibition with you in your home. Today I'm going to be talking about a few of the women artists that are included in this exhibition. American Impressionism was one of the few movements that actually welcomed a whole crop of women artists. There was much more of a place at the table, or in this case at the easel, for women than in previous art movements. And there are a number of reasons for this. Some of them were economic, some were changes that were happening in the art world, and some was the nature of the actual Impressionist movement, first in France and then in the United States. I'm standing next to a wonderful image of hollyhocks by Mary Augusta Reid. And this is a work that she created in the 19-teens, but her work actually began earlier than that. She was born in Reading and studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, and that's where she met her husband, George Reid, who was also a painter. He was from Canada, and eventually the couple settled in Canada, and Mary becomes very well known as one of the premier female Canadian artists of her time. This is actually a portrait of Mary by George that he did, and this is paired beautifully in the exhibition with the painting that Mary did that's in the exhibition of hollyhocks. Paintings of flowers were a typical subject matter for women artists. It was in the hierarchy of art as defined by the Paris salons. It was on the lower end. And so women were always allowed to paint pictures of flowers. But in the Impressionist period, many women focused on flowers for a different reason, for the fact that they could become very, very loose with their brushwork in the same way that Impressionists are with all of their subject matter, to capture the fleeting effects of light on a particular scene. Mary was a great gardener as well, and she loved spending time in the garden. So it's not surprising that she personally chose flowers as her subject matter, and it is something for which she became very, very well known. Unlike a lot of artists, a lot of Impressionist artists, Mary actually was very financially successful in the creation of her work, and she was one of the first women to be included in the collection of the National Gallery of Canada. Here we're standing in front of a work by Maybin Ferguson, Market Day from 1915. Nancy was a generation younger than Mary Reid, and so we're seeing a piece that's created at about the same time as Mary's piece, but by an artist who's about 20 years younger. Market scenes such as this were very, very popular in Nancy's career. This is something for which she was very well known. She studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, just like Mary Reid did, but then split her time between Philadelphia and Provincetown. And this is probably an image from that time in Provincetown, where she oftentimes did these wonderful market scenes. Arrah Gaul was born about 10 years after Nancy Ferguson, and she also studied in Philadelphia at Philadelphia School of Design for Women. She went on to study at the University of Pennsylvania, but then returned to the School of Design, where she eventually headed up the art department. She traveled extensively throughout her career to many places throughout the world, but this is an image of Martha's Vineyard, which would have been a ready image for her to attend to. You see it as a typical harbor scene, Edgerton, in Martha's Vineyard, and it's very luminous. It just glows with the colors. And you can also see how wonderful her handling of the paint is here. So she's making this work in the teens again. So we're seeing three women artists, all of whom are working in the teens, in very different subject matter and in very, very different ways. Born in 1895 in France, Pauleete van Roekens moved to the United States as a young girl. In 1915, she entered the Philadelphia School of Design for Women, but then also studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. She eventually returned to the Philadelphia School of Design for Women, now the Moore College of Art and Design, where she was a faculty member for over 40 years. While she traveled extensively, it was Philadelphia that was the key subject for her, and we have an impression of Philadelphia here, called Towers in the Mist from 1925. It is a street scene, which is relatively unusual for the American Impressionists. This was not the subject matter that many gravitated to. Landscapes, figure work, certainly, but city scenes were rather rare. But she excelled in them, and you can see that it is a foggy, misty, wet day in Philadelphia. There's a wonderful reflection of the wet pavement in the work, and the idea of capturing a scene that would be very, very familiar to her time and time again under different weather conditions was very typical of Impressionists. Misty day is very much a weather condition that excited a lot of the Impressionists because they knew that the quality of light that you would see on a misty day would be completely different than you would see on a sunny day or a cloudy day or a snowy day. All of these things were of great interest to the Impressionists and certainly to Pauleete van Roekens.